On the topic of kind of this idea of like a meta narrative that you were talking about, something to explain basically everything, I was reading some of your work and you described it as like a hyper real religion. Like, for those who are kind of not familiar with it, I mean, I don't really know all that much. Like, what does that mean in the context of a conspiracy theory? Like, how could it be like a religion?
So QAnon started as a conspiracy theory in 2017 and 2018, but as it became mainstream, especially in 2020, it's really become a religio-political ideology. So what I mean by a hyper-real religion is this is based on the premise that pop culture shapes and creates our actual reality. An example of this could be something like, let's say, Jediism or Matrixism, right? Jediism started as a joke online where a bunch of people in the UK were saying, if we get 300,000 people to put this on the census, they'll recognize it as a real religion. But years later, the ideological and ethical frameworks of Jediism are being applied by these communities as a way for them to practice and, live out their lives in an ethical framework. So it provides a way by which they could receive pop culture in a parallel to religious tradition. So what we're seeing with QAnon is they openly use popular culture, they use media, and they definitely borrow heavily from American evangelicalism in countries that are not very secular. And this is what forms their religious and political ideology. So QAnon adherents consume Q drops, they construct and make meaning from this, and this redefines their meaning within their society. And this is what creates this parallel to religious tradition. So QAnon adherents are not passive readers. They're not just consuming this content and doing nothing. They're content creators. They generate memes and videos. This feeds the information war. This feeds, as we saw on January 6th, offline actions. It impacted their behaviors. So like I was saying, the discourse between religion and conspiracies are linked by this function. Both permit the development of symbolic resources that, address the problem of evil. So events are not random, but they also give QAnon believers an identification of evil and a definable enemy for which they could fight against and struggle against. So basically what happens is QAnon attempts to explain evil, and it's really about the concept of theodicy, the problem of evil. It's a concept we have in religious studies where people are trying to explain away the problem of evil. Why would this massive force permit all these issues to happen? Well, QAnon offers its adherents comfort in these uncertain times, whether it's war, child trafficking, a pandemic, economic strife, political strife, and it provides them solace. And this is what creates their worldview. And it's very characterized by this sharp distinction between the realms of good and evil. It's black and white. There is really no gray. And, they really perceive themselves as fighting into this war, and they see Q drops as something that's testable and accumulatable by evidence. It's very similar to how you'll see Christians or, Jews or Muslims or Hindus really turn back to holy texts as a way of explaining away what's happening in the world. They're justifying actions in the real world. So what's happening is that the more sweeping these conspiracy theories are, the less relevant evidence become. And it's really about faith. It's really about faith in Q, in Trump, and those around Trump who are part of the Q team. So it's really not about asking the question, why do people believe this? These people are crazy. These are the answers that people are going to go when they're not trying to understand a movement. But I've embedded myself in these communities for 2.5 years now. And the really more important question, especially from, studying ideological motivated violent extremists, it's really about what are they doing with their belief? And January 6th is a stark example of how conspiracy theories go from online ideologies to offline violent actions. Because even though there was a host of groups that were active, at the forefront of the people pushing into Capitol Hill, chasing down police, were QAnon adherents. And this is really where I'm seeing it as an ideology, because this is not just, a conspiracy theory, because no one really shot up someone place or raided the Capitol because they thought the moon landing was faked or that JFK was killed, right? You've seen QAnon adherents run political campaigns based on their belief in QAnon. You've seen QAnon adherents protest and march and organize themselves into political actions based on these ideologies. And you've seen people commit violent crimes. So it's really more than just, I think there's these shadowy actors. It's really become, a construct by which these individuals perceive the world, and their behaviors are modified and impacted by this belief.
It's kind of a scary aspect to think of it as that, because then how do you even have these people kind of take a step back and realize, okay, I went too far, when they start viewing it as some sort of religious aspect? Like, I was talking to Jatard, he was saying that, you know, for him, the drops kept moving and then the goalposts move. And then one day he kind of realized, okay, I've just been kind of running along the whole time. But I was looking on Twitter today and I'm seeing people posting things saying like, oh, do you still believe? Because I believe. And now it seems like, you know, nothing happened. Well, something happened in 6 with the riots, but in terms of Pence not certifying the Electoral College. So then it goes to the 20th where it's like, okay, well, Biden won't be sworn in as president. And I assume that's going to drive a lot of people away from it. But then also you have people saying, okay, well, no, now something's going to happen on the 4th. So like, how far does this go? That's kind of what I'm interested in.
So like, it's scary in the sense to see that they've become an ideology, but from a research perspective, or even from a threat assessment perspective, we have tools in counterterrorism toolkits to address ideological movements. It just needs to be realized that it's not just a bunch of, you know, crazy people with tinfoil hats living in their basements. So what's happening is they're an apocalyptic movement. They're millenarial. They really believe that there's going to be this apocalyptic event. There's going to be a huge amount of suffering, but they're the chosen ones that will make it through. And then there's this big promised golden age where you're going to have, you know, free technology, cures to all these diseases, unlimited wealth. So the goalpost could be moved infinitely in a sense, as most religions have. You know, Christians have been pushing the goalposts on the apocalypse for 2,000 years. Now, I don't think QAnon is going to become anything like Christianity, but apocalyptic movements have existed and gone for, you know, thousands of years. They're not going to go away. And even if QAnon would disappear, the problem is that the believers still have this core necessity to believe in something. It doesn't address the inherent need of these individuals, and they're going to go and find it somewhere else. So this is, for them, it's really about trying to explain what is going around them. And, you know, if it wasn't for QAnon, maybe they would have become Christian or Muslim or Jewish, or, you know, joined the Jehovah's Witness, or Little League or whatever. They needed a medium by which to explain what's happening to them. And this is what they fell upon. If there were other safety nets or other resources, maybe they would have fallen to these other sectors. So it's really about addressing these issues. Until they're addressed, this is really going to go on indefinitely. It might not be as QAnon, but it'll be as other movements that is providing these individuals with the answers that they need.